So for today's video, I want to do the last section or the last part of propaganda and the undecided. Now I've been complaining over the last year because I woke up to the fact that I was being targeted and manipulated, kind of played by some gold digging Jezebel types who I ran into and probably acted a fool around in the initial stage. But the point here is that the undecided people who are, well, who are not sure of their beliefs, I guess, opinions and attitudes, who are susceptible to the control of public opinion and attitudes because they don't know. They're not the indifferent, which is less than 10%. They say 7% incorrigible types. But they're the undecided, but they believe whatever the group believes. So hence they're the most susceptible to propaganda. So the strong factor for being a undecided is a high degree of integration into collective life. So these Jezebel types, they tend to promote communita, because that's the collective life where the propaganda apparatus takes over in full effect. So if you're isolated from general society, only having occasional contact with society at the markets, you are not the same as the undecided, because you're not sensitive to propaganda. It's invisible to you, but it does show its effects in day-to-day life when you're stifled by the society, who is mostly composed of the undecided, supposedly 93% in 1965. Since then, the education has been ramped up, and the Maoist tactics of destroying the enemies have been ramped up, even targeting kids in school, elementary school. Dang. So you have to have the same foci of interest in the group, especially if it's effective for propaganda group. And you can only talk about foci of interest if you want to push propaganda to somebody or to a group that is interested in it. So religion is part of the old think and old speak, so it doesn't matter for propaganda anymore. And other old things don't matter, like family and so forth. Alright. Talked about political interest being slower to develop in the what is now called, what I call now the the asexual trifecta of Asian, Muslims, and Africans, in America at least. And so they're least political, hence least susceptible to propaganda, hence therefore they're categorized as the asexual. This expansion of interest inevitably entails a simultaneous expansion of propaganda. Alright, so they're talking about the world brainwashing agenda, and how technology is very important propaganda. I remember at the club, many people were talking about the space exploration and Tesla cars and all kinds of tech stuff. But no, Kunal talks about gender relations or tribal societies and how gender differences happen there. Oh my god. Kick him out. Kick him out. Anyway, it has to be. It definitely can be antagonistic to subsection of the community, especially a powerful propagandist subsection of that. I said, no, got to go. So we take up another basic trait of social psychology of propaganda. The more intense the life of a group to which an individual belongs, the more active and effective propaganda is. So that's what I was talking about, the groupthink. The more intense the last leadership team I got fed up with. They wanted to make it a fun club and a lively club and so just silly fucking mindless shit, just be crazy and fun, I guess they were trying to pick up guys for the cock carousel, so that's what the bitches wanted. But unfortunately, I had to be a party pooper and still pooping on parties because they're propaganda, evil influences. So let's get hip, let's get away. We now take another basic trait of the social psychology of propaganda. More intense the life of a group, the more active and effective propaganda is. So I made a mistake going to those after parties and shit, because that's how they got me. The bitches got me, at least, with their propaganda. So yeah, just don't get too intense with the group. It's a mistake I learned. Thankfully, I got some opportunities to go outside. I was pushed towards it, and then I saw that, oh my god, I've been really getting fucked up the ass here. So a group in which feelings of belonging are weak, in which well, I guess everybody gets fucked up the ass wherever they are, but I just felt I didn't have to keep being fucked up the ass every fucking time, and taking it with joy. A group in which feelings of belonging are weak, in which common objectives are imprecise, or the structure is in the process of changing. So I think that's what the bitch, the Jezebel, she was probably from those same team or got recruited by the same team. But anyway, she was very critical of the weak structure and lack of belonging. I was criticized for I've been criticized for driving the Jezebels away. Oh my god. They don't like no sausage fests. The propaganda needs to be effective. So common objectives can't be imprecise, and structure cannot be changed, and conflicts cannot be avoided, or should not be allowed to be avoided, and should be promoted to the top, and which is not tied to a collective focus of interest. Yeah, they got all political and shit. I thought Toastmasters is not about politics, but they got fucking political after Trump and all the fucking libtards started getting attention for talking shit about him. Which is not tied to a collective focus of interest, and therefore cannot make valid propaganda to its members or those outside. But the vitality, or they call it the energy of the group, has these things that it makes effective propaganda. And also, and here's the fucking kicker that I learned the hard way, it can make its members increasingly sensitive to propaganda in general. So you just kind of become more and more childlike. The more active and alive a group, the more its members will listen to propaganda and believe it. So hence comes the fun committees. So the more the individual is integrated into a group, the more he is receptive to propaganda, and the more he is apt to participate in the political life of his group. The group does not even have to be solidly structured. Thus, in a group of friends, when almost all vote the same way, there is little chance of any of them going astray. Thus, the friendly group involuntarily exerts pressure. So the bitch, this one bitch at the club, who was definitely identified, just clearly identified, advertised Jezebel type, and she was all like, she was just claiming that people in the past had made accusations, harsh accusations, and it was a racist comment, but I didn't worry about that at the time. Uh, but I should have. But anyway, she was criticized for making everybody vote the same way, and that's so true. These Jezebels, their whole freaking existence is about groupthink and propaganda, proper gender. But unfortunately, they don't realize what they're doing. Well, actually, they do realize what they're doing, but maybe not on a bird's eye view type of way, which is what he's talking about in this book. So, vitality has to be preserved because actually, I guess I understand because the Jezebels want power, and therefore, like, if the group is lively and powerful and effective at propaganda, that makes them more powerful. Anyway, this members listen to propaganda and believe it. So, but this holds true only for propaganda by the group itself towards its members. So yeah, everybody wears a mask. But this holds true only for propaganda by the group itself towards its members. If you go a bit further, we need a more general problem of the intensity of collective life. I think I'll be right back. So this is only for propaganda toward the members, but going a bit further, we meet the connected but more general problem of the intensity of collective life. Intensity of collective life. Vigorous groups can definitely have a collective life of little intensity. Yeah, I should feel happy like I don't have a intense collective life. I mean, I kind of miss it, but I really missed it, but I guess I was really intense. It was really intense. Or people around me told me I wasn't intense enough involved in the collective life, believe it or not. But I felt it was too intense. But so I should be happy that it's much less intense now. I don't know. Ah, man, they're getting in my head again. Vigorous groups can definitely have a collective life of little intensity. Conversely, weak groups can have an intense collective life. Ah, good point, good point. Historically, we can observe that an intense collective life develops even while a society is disintegrating. So a decaying society like ours, or past decay, dead society like ours, like the Roman Empire, 4th century, Germany, Weimar Republic, or France today. Whether or not this collective life, so it can be intense. I remember the Sin Cities again. That documentary had a great expose of the post-unemployment and post-collapse or during collapse, the society full of sex and drugs of the Europe and Asia back then, in the 20s and 30s. So whether or not this collective life is wholesome matters little. So I felt like just promoting fun, just for the sake of fun, was not a good enough motto for the club. Should have been wholesome. Something, like I was trying to promote like a sense of a different kind of community, with like a more wholesome kind of community. But maybe I just have different foci of interest than other people, so my propaganda failed badly. What counts for propaganda is the intensity of that life, whatever its sources. In a trend towards social disintegration, this intensity, oh shit, there's more intensity when there's disintegration, right? That's what the Hunger Games showed us. Like in the cities, you saw all the crazy people loving all the violence and stuff, drama of the Hunger Games. So the intensity predisposes individuals to accept propaganda without determining its meaning in advance. So it's like you're being rushed, so you just take it and go with it because you don't have time to decide or think about the information. So such individuals are not prepared to accept this or that orientation, but they are more easily subjected to psychological pressure. Hope he's not talking about me. Damn. So yeah, when you have to act, it's very difficult to deal with that psychological pressure sometimes. And decide or think or whatever. So furthermore, it matters little whether the intensity of such collective life is spontaneous or artificial. So it can result from a striving. Oh yeah, that's another criticism. This dude with another dude with a biblical name. Oh man, it's like I'm not restless enough. I'm not striving, like he is, you know. Because I guess he's got I guess the joke was that he has a woman holding him back, and I don't, you know. I think they were just fucking around with me, and I just took it seriously or something. Anyway, furthermore, it matters little whether the intensity of such collective life is spontaneous or artificial. It can result from a striving, a restlessness, or a conviction. I guess I got convicted. Deriving directly from social or political conditions. So it can result this psychological pressure through the intensity of collective life is can be spontaneous, natural, or artificial, and it can be from a striving towards something, or a restlessness about your situation or something, or a conviction about something that derives directly ideas directly from social or political conditions. So the social and the political, the feminine, the male condition of society, and as in France, 1848, or in the medieval city-states of I don't know. I guess medieval city-states like Rome and so forth. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Rome. I remember all the intense social and political conditions for sure. I don't remember France in 1850 though. That was the time of the colonial powers gaining total dominance, it seemed, throughout the uncivilized world. Anyway, it can result from manipulation of the group, as in fascist Italy or Nazi Germany. So it can result from these conditions or from manipulation of the group, mass manipulation. And in all such cases, the result is the same. The individual who is part of an intense collective life is prone to submit to the influence of propaganda. And anyone who succeeds in keeping aloof from the intense collective life is generally outside the influence of propaganda because of his ability to escape that intensity. So, you know, the Toastmaster thoughts, I guess the Toastmaster managers sent a couple thoughts that were hot to try to criticize me and try to break my, I don't know, ideals, probably. You know, my wisdom, certain patterns of behavior, because I was criticized about, like I said, not being striving enough, and that was from a single-serving friend type, not a thought type, so a male type, but also my convictions were scrutinized and made to feel invalid, and restlessness was just created by the my life situation, I guess. So yeah, everything happened to me too, and so forth, just like the Nazi Germans. And I was happy to be in the intense collective life for once, but unfortunately I didn't kind of read the writing on the wall, so it took me too long to withdraw. So anyway, anyone who succeeds in keeping aloof from the intense collective life is generally outside the influence of propaganda, hence the asexual trifecta mentioned earlier. Because of his ability to escape that intensity, I mean, why would a propagandist thought work 3 times, 4 times, 5 times as hard on an asexual when she could have 5 times as much from 5 different silly sexuals, metrosexuals, millennial sexuals, I don't know. Anyway, of course, the intensity is connected with the centers of interest. The intensity with the centers of interest. So, intensity has to do with what people are interested in. So, since there were a lot of young people at the club, they thought that fun should be a good theme, I guess. And a lot of liberal types too. So I guess they had to unify the liberals and the conservatives. So, you know, just like the Sin Cities, same thing. It's a big party celebration. But Obama put us in a freaking total destitute state. Coming in with the celebration time. Come on. Just like propaganda and the collective life of the intense collective life of the group. Because Obama was about the group. Change we can believe in. Whereas Trump is about an ideal, making a vision, a direction, a vision, and so forth. For, well, I guess it's a vision of kind of staying stuck, you could say, of Trump slogan. Slogans are dangerous in any case. Intensity will be greatest around such an interest. For example, an important center of interest today is one's profession. An individual who cares little for the social life of his group, his family life, or books, reacts vigorously on the subject of his profession. Well, that's so true. When I started focusing on my profession, I became much more reactive, vigorous reactant. And his reaction is not individual. It is the result of his participation in the group. Wow, so all the people around whispering Satan's words in your ears. Damn. Participating in the group. So that's why you react vigorously, obviously. That's common sense. Thus we present the following 3 principles. The propagandist must place his propaganda inside the limits of the foci of interest. So one thing I learned was topics. When you write an essay, you got to focus on the topics. So same thing with the propagandist in his speech and actions, propaganda action, using all the different means. The propagandist must understand that his propaganda propagandist must understand that his propaganda has the greatest chance for success where the collective life of the individuals he seeks to influence is most intense. So hence, when there's something starts happening, you see a lot more start happening. The propagandist must remember that collective life is most intense where it revolves around a focus of interest. Huh. Right. So it's just reminding you that focus of interest is what creates the group, and it's what main, promotes propaganda on the group. And intensity. On the basis of these principles, the propagandist can reach the undecided and act on the majority of 93%. On the subject of this 93%, it is often stated, and opinion surveys tend to confirm this, that between 7 and 10% of all individuals, consciously and voluntarily, adhere to a trend, to a grouping, whereas about between 7 and 10% of all individuals consciously and voluntarily, as opposed to unconscious propaganda we've been discussing, adhere to a trend, to a grouping, hence my vitriol against the adultery thottery out there, because they don't adhere to a grouping. Every 2 years, in fact, everybody changes their political opinions too. But anyway, whereas about 90% fluctuate according to the circumstances. See, I'm very wordy compared to Jacques Itoll. Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. Or 7 words, whatever. 7 to 10. The first correct estimate of this apparently was made by Napoleon. Okay. The first correct estimate of this was made by Napoleon. It was revived by Hitler. So propagandists know these basic truths. If you study the book of John Taylor Gatto, he talked about how the elite students of the rich families and so forth, I guess, politicians and whatnot, are given the education about these things and these facts and principles. So anyhow, only in connection with this mass of undecided can one truly speak of ambiguity. So only with the undecided mass can one truly speak of ambiguity, majority effect, tension, frustration, and so on. Yeah, so I was just frustrated because it was like a group was doing something that I didn't understand, and I was trying to do something else, and I was confused, ambiguous, and too dependent, I guess, too on the majority effect because of my role and so forth, and my internalization actually of my role, and so on. So that's that. And then next chapter is propaganda and truth. So here we talked about the propaganda and the undecided. This is a speech that was very bitterly received at the club when I gave my last table topics. Actually, no, that was a previous evaluation where I got where I lost. I didn't get a bitter response, but I did make a comment that groups, especially this one that you guys love so much because it seems so intense and awesome, may not be the best thing to support in these times, and you might want to try to find some alternatives, in fact. So I mean, no leader's gonna like that, obviously, but no, a typical leader. But yeah, I did say that 80-90% of the population are considered the dead or the undecided because they're mocked by the propagandist class. and the 7 to 10% are brutally exterminated by the commie class. They're the incorrigible types on whom re-education has not worked and taken. You just can't help them, you see. You can just label them monkeys and let the people eat each other. Anyway, proper gender is female, in the new millennium. Kali Yuga. Peace out.